Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Business Podcast, your source for all things business. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, today I have Anthony Trucks on the line, and he's founder and CEO over at Identity Shift. Anthony, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Anthony. So I'm excited to get into today's topic. So we're going to get into the shift method and really how you're helping your clients. So excited to talk about this today. But before we get into the shift method, let's start off by talking a little bit more about your company, Identity Shift. Tell us a little bit more about what you're doing, please.
Definitely. I teach people how to expand who they are so they can reach their full potential. And there's a lot of things we do in this world. We have a lot of intentions. We buy a lot of stuff and get that shelf esteem, I call it. And I'm the person who comes in and teaches people how to navigate past those sticking points to make the hard things much easier in life.
Did you just say shelf-esteem?
Esteem.
Get out of here. You're killing me over here already. You came with a fire today, Anthony. Why have I never heard anybody in the world say self-esteem before? That's so good. Let's go a little bit deeper. So let's just jump right into the shift method. Tell us a little bit more about your method and how you're helping people.
Yeah, well, the method closes the distance between two spaces. I pretty much call it your identity gap. There's the identity of the person that you are now. Well, there's nothing wrong with the person, but, we don't have everything we want. And then there's the person that for some reason they have everything we want. And if we were that person already, we'd have it. We'd have the body, we'd have the car, we'd have the career. There's a lot of people that probably could admit right now there are things that we know how to do, but for some reason we can't get them done. Like we've got the information, but why do I not get that thing completed? And so on the far end, that's called your ideal identity. So I close the gap and help you make a shift by using the shift method. And the shift method is simple, straightforward. It's one of those things that's simple but hard to do. And the three stages to it are see, shift, and sustain. A lot of people in life, we like to work. Like when it comes down to getting things done, we'll just start doing work, which is the shift stage. We learn this, read this, apply this. We put it into our schedule. We buy planners, do vision boards, we do all this work. And then what happens is some people get to the point of working themselves to the bone and being burned out, but then still broke or still unsure why they're not where they choose to be. And the reason is because they didn't go back and do the C work. And so the C phase, I do some really interesting things, but I want to see the stuff that you don't want to see about your problems, why you're stuck, what's really in the way, how do you act, how do you react, what are your habits, what's going on. Because when you can honestly give yourself permission to progress, to drop the ego, now we can get to the stage of doing the shift work. Because unfortunately, if you don't, it's kind of like climbing this ladder that you get to the top of after huffing and puffing. You get to the top and realize that, the ladder's leaned against the wrong building. And that's solely because you didn't see which building it was leaned against when you started climbing. So doing the right work. And then sustain for me is big because in my life, I've got a lot of times where I've climbed the ladder, done real well, and then for some reason, like 3-6 months later, I wake up and I'm like, how did I get back down to the bottom of this hill? Like, what happened? And so what I do is I make sure that we inset very specific structure to make that shift and keep that shift so we don't slide back to that the evil that feels normal. In life, I say that people, they like the evil they know. So essentially, the evil I know is better than the evil I don't. And when I become this new human internally, I transform. Sometimes I'll naturally go back to those weird old ways and I'll slide back into the same friend groups and same habits, and then you create that same old life in replacement of the great one you just made. So sustain is, how do I sustain this projection of my life I'm going towards?
So I don't want to oversimplify this. Obviously, there's only so much you can get in a 10 to 15-minute podcast episode. And at the end of this, I'm going to give you the opportunity, of course, to leave your contact and our website, whatever you want to leave, so that the listeners that want to go further and learn more about what you're doing in your work with your team can follow up. But that being said, I know you've worked with a lot of people. What do you think are some of those? Obviously, we both know, and everybody listening knows, nobody does this intentionally. Nobody gets stuck intentionally. What do you think are some of the common reasons and or like just things that you see over and over again that are kind of holding people back from making this shift?
There's a few of them. One of them that is a very common one. It's hard for people who have achieved some things to actually get to this point and get past it. So what ends up happening is we have like this upper limit theory. Gay Hendricks has a good book called, I think it's called The Big Leap. And it talks about the upper limit. And there's a lot that goes in his book, and conceptually it has its own areas. But essentially what I look at is, where am I getting to the point of hearing you say, I've done the most I can do? I'm working so hard I can't do any more. And here's what I tell people. I challenge them. I say, hey, if your hero was to follow you around for a day, what would they say? Like, genuinely, would they go back and be like, oh, Susan, you're doing great. I have no idea why you're not getting your goals. Or, hey, Bill, great job. Or would they honestly say, hey, Bill, that thing you're doing that you think is your maximum, if that continues to be your maximum, you'll never reach the goal you want. And so what happens is, a lot of the time I have to sit with people and have them feel like they're giving up themselves by admitting that there's more they can do and they haven't done everything. And I don't think it's just an ego thing. It truly sometimes is like they're maximized. I don't like the word overwhelmed, but they get maximized. I can't read more. I can't exercise more. I can't, process more. Now you can, but here's the problem. If I keep battling for that limitation, I get to keep it. If I keep telling myself I can't do this, it's too hard, I've worked too hard, guess you get to keep that exact position in life that you are. So when I go into my work, a lot of it in the beginning C phase we talked about is going in and getting them to see that, like, hey, that dream you want, that's so big and so great that you can't figure out why you can't get it. The biggest reason you can't get it is because you will not admit to yourself and give yourself permission to actually improve. And that's the sticking point. And it's the worst for people who've already had some success, because they think, I just got to work, harder at this and I got this. And it's like, no, it's not just that. It's expanding who you are as a human, so that what you're telling yourself right now is difficult becomes easy. Because here's the one thing that I think is true. There's a problem that holds the key to your fortune, your happiness. But if you're stuck at this problem, you'll never get in front of that one.
Man, that's well said. And so as everybody listening to this has been following my podcasts for a long time, they know I like to ask this question because I partially I'm asking for the audience, but I'm also asking for me. So what's the low-hanging fruit in this? Like, what's the thing that everybody can listening, or the majority of the people listening, can start kind of either thinking about, or the question they can ask themselves, or really just where do they start with this? Because obviously people are listening and they're like, that's me. He just now called me out. What do I do?
I do this exercise called Roots and Fruits. And it's more of one for us to have, like the what they call it, what's the snapshot for business? I want to take the balance sheet, like the snapshot of what's going on right now in the business. So it's kind of the same for life. And what I do is I want to be able to have you be honest and see where you're actually at, and so and be able to see what's going on and why you might be stuck. So one of the exercises we do is I get a tree, and there's 10 roots. So there's 5 roots and there's 5 fruits and there's 10 overall. And what you do is conceptually, a lot of us in life get to this point where we struggle and we lose something, we fall apart, and we lose the job, lose a relationship, we lose money. And it's this thing that has so much of ourselves wrapped up in it, we feel like we've lost everything. It's like the fruit falling off the tree. And for a lot of people, the first step I tell them was first realize just because a fruit fell off the tree and it withered and dies doesn't mean that you did, because you're not the fruit. You're the tree. You are the one that created that in the first place, which means you can create more. Let's go take care of the tree. Now, the tree has this base of, if you think about the storm, it can take a tree and blow it across town. Well, there's storms in life. There's problems in life. If the roots are deep and they're nutrient rich and they're healthy, the tree stays. I mean, there's sometimes sole trees hanging out in the middle of fields during tornadoes. How did that tree stay down? It's because it had good roots. And for us in life, there's 5 basic roots. It's faith, family, health, friends, and emotional control. And if you think about the depth, it's how deep is my faith in self and my capabilities, or my faith in God? Family, how rooted is my family control and my base of stability? Because if the family's not right at home, I can't even go do anything in the world. My wife and I are fighting, I can't even get on the stage and speak anymore. Then friends. So I have family that I chose that are there to support me, outside the family unit. Then I have my health. Is my health intact? In the sense of, do I have to consistently worry about my inability to move or travel or do something because I'm not healthy? And then also my emotional control, because life happens in the moments that we don't expect. And if I can't manage my emotions in those moments, I make illogical decisions that cost me, whether I buy things because I'm happy or I say things because I'm mad. When that's rooted, I can create great fruit, which is my career, my education, my finances, my escape, and my lift. My career is like, am I doing a job I love to do that fires me up every day? Am I able to educate myself, not just in books, but learn from my life? Am I actively seeking wisdom? Am I seeing things to improve? Then my finances. Do I have the money I want? Because money's a facilitator. It's not bad. Like, I want to have a lot of money, not because I want to be rich and have a yacht. I want to have a lot of money so I have a lot of freedom and opportunity, and I can facilitate great things for the youth I want to serve in the world because I grew up in foster care and I want to give back. Then my escape. Am I taking trips and living this life that I see everybody else living on social? If I'm going to work hard, live hard, have fun hard. Am I doing that? And then LIFT, which is an acronym. It means life inside for triumph, not to try. What is that fire in the hot air balloon that helps me rise? Essentially, what's my purpose? Every one of these, you number 1 to 10, and you sit back and honestly say, like, is this where it should be? And if it's not, look back and say, what is one thing I can do in the next 30 days to move this one level higher? Not 10, because that's just, don't make it a 5 to a 10, but like, what can I do to make this family unit a 6 of depth? Or what can I do to add one more fruit to the tree of finances? Just one, and then look at it every day and start moving.
Yeah, that's well said, Anthony. So that being said, if somebody's listening to this and they want more information on identity shift or the shift method, I mean, what's the best way for them to connect with you and your team?
Best way is to go to anthonytrucks.com. There's a lot of little things you can do there. Click one of the buttons, and our team goes through a process of first kind of getting a feel for where you are, where your needs are at. Then we have you watch this quick training, and then we hop on a call later on to help you do what's called a strategy to figure out what's your ideal identity that you want to shift into. And then if it sounds like something that sounds good, we discuss the programs we offer. We have 3 solid core programs, and that's it. But for the most part, if you just want to follow along, go to @AnthonyTrucks on Instagram. I post a lot of fun, cool content just to educate people on this concept.
I love that. So, Anthony, first off, congrats on all the success, and I love what you're doing with the shift method to help your clients and people really get to that next level. So I think it's awesome what you're doing. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review on the Apple iTunes Store, and if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Business, definitely give us a subscribe there, but also leave us some comments on the video. Love to know what kind of projects and things that you're working on. And Anthony, thanks again for coming on the show.
No problem. Thank you for having me.